Commander Theg stared at the floating debris field with what passed for satisfaction among his species. 3 months. That's all it took to reduce the mighty human fleet to cosmic scrap metal. He flexed his 4 primary appendages, savoring the moment. "Sir, we are detecting something unusual in Sector 7, announced Navigator Quinn from her station, her voice carrying that particular tone that meant trouble was brewing. "Define unusual, Navigator." Theg didn't bother looking up from his tactical display. After crushing 17 human colonies and their so-called invincible defense fleets, very little qualified as unusual anymore. "There's a beacon, Commander. Human design. It's still active." Now that got his attention. Theg's head snapped toward Quinn so fast his neck vertebrae made an audible clicking sound. "Still active? That's impossible. We hit that sector with enough plasma to melt a small moon." "That's what I thought too, sir. But the readings don't lie." Science Officer Vorial, a reed-thin individual with too many eyes for anyone's comfort, started chattering excitedly from his workstation. "Commander, this is extraordinary. The beacon appears to be broadcasting on multiple frequencies simultaneously. It's like nothing we have encountered in human technology before." Theg felt a familiar itch between his shoulder blades. The same itch he'd gotten right before the humans had surprised his forces at the Battle of Kepler Station. The same itch that had saved his hide more times than he cared to count. "Bring us closer, but keep our shields at maximum power." "Sir, with all due respect," Quinn interjected, "it's just a beacon. What's the worst it could do? Send us a strongly worded message." If Theg had possessed the ability to smile, he would have. Instead, he made the gargling sound that passed for amusement among his people. "Navigator, in my 300 years of military service, I have learned one fundamental truth about humans. When something seems too simple, it usually is." The massive warship glided through the debris field like a predator stalking wounded prey. Chunks of human vessels drifted past the viewscreen, their hulls twisted and blackened from the recent battle. Here and there, Theg caught glimpses of human bodies floating in the void, their faces frozen in expressions of surprise and terror. "Good. That's exactly what they deserved for daring to resist the Dominion." Visual contact established, reported sensors operator Zara, her multiple eyestalks focusing on different displays simultaneously. "The beacon is approximately 12 meters in length, cylindrical design, and appears to be intact." "Intact?" Theg's voice rose an octave. "We fired enough energy at that sector to power a small star. How is anything intact?" "Unknown, sir, but there's something else. The beacon isn't just broadcasting, it's scanning." The bridge fell silent except for the gentle hum of life support system. Even Voral stopped his incessant data stream chatter. "Scanning what? Exactly?" "Us, sir. It's scanning us." Theg felt that itch transform into full-blown alarm bells. "All stop. Maintain current Commander." Voral's voice carried a note of scientific excitement that Theg had learned to dread. "I'm detecting some fascinating energy signatures from the beacon. The power source appears to be some form of quantum weight. This can't be right." "What can't be right, Science Officer?" "According to my readings, the beacon is drawing power from the surrounding debris field. It's somehow converting the thermal energy from the destroyed ships into usable power. That's theoretically impossible with known human technology." Quinn let out a low whistle. "You have got to admit that's pretty clever for a species we just turned into space dust." "Cleverness is exactly what makes them dangerous," Theg muttered. He'd studied human military history extensively before this campaign. These weren't the type of beings who went quietly into extinction. They fought. They adapted. And they had an annoying habit of turning defeat into victory through sheer bloody-minded stubbornness. "Sir, I'm receiving a transmission from the beacon," Zara announced. "Audio or visual?" "Both, sir. It's requesting permission to establish a communication link." Theg's 4 eyes narrowed to slits. "It's requesting permission? Since when do automated beacons request anything?" "Since never, sir. This is definitely not standard human protocol. Put it through, but maintain full defensive postures." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the interior of what appeared to be a small command center. A human male sat calmly in a chair wearing what looked like a standard fleet uniform. He appeared to be in his 40s with graying hair and the kind of steady gaze that suggested he'd seen more than his share of combat. "Greetings," the human said in accented but clear Dominion standard. "I am Lieutenant Marcus Webb, formerly of the Human Defense Corps. I believe we need to talk." Ascentive felt his blood temperature drop several degrees. "Formerly? As in past tense?" Marcus nodded. "As in dead, Commander. Along with the rest of my crew and approximately 40,000 other humans in this sector." "That's impossible. Dead beings don't operate communication equipment." "Under normal circumstances, you'd be absolutely correct." Marcus leaned back in his chair with the casual air of someone discussing the weather. "However, these aren't normal circumstances." Vorl was practically vibrating with excitement at his station. "Commander, the energy readings are off the charts. Whatever technology is powering that beacon, it's unlike anything in our databases. How are you speaking to us?" Ascentive bonded. "That's a fascinating question, isn't it?" Marcus replied, "I have been asking myself the same thing for the past 3 months. Ever since your fleet reduced my ship to component atoms. You are claiming to be some form of artificial intelligence. Not artificial. No, more like archived." Marcus gestured to something off-screen. "You see, Commander, humans have been preparing for this war a lot longer than you might think. We have developed some rather interesting contingency plans." Quinn leaned over to whisper to Thek, "Sir, this could be some form of psychological warfare, trying to spook us with ghost stories." "Perhaps," Thek replied quietly. "But I have never known humans to waste time on pointless theatrics during actual combat situations." Marcus continued as if he could hear their conversation. "I can assure you, Commander, this is no theatric. The beacon you are examining contains something far more valuable than standard communication equipment. And what would that be? The complete tactical database of every human military operation for the past 50 years. Fleet movements, weapon specifications, defensive strategies, colony locations." Marcus paused for effect. "Everything you'd need to completely eliminate human resistance once and for all." Thak felt his heart skip a beat. That kind of intelligence would be invaluable for the final phases of the campaign. With complete tactical knowledge, the Dominion could wrap up this war in a matter of weeks instead of years. "Why would you give us this information?" "Because, Commander, I have seen what your people do to prisoners. I have witnessed the fate of captured human colonies. Death is preferable to what you consider mercy. So you are surrendering." Marcus laughed, and the sound sent chills down Thake's spine. "Surrendering? Oh no, Commander. I'm offering you a choice." "What kind of choice?" "You can take the beacon aboard your ship and access the tactical database. Learn everything there is to know about human military capabilities. Or you can destroy it and continue this war the hard way." Varnell practically shouted from his station. "Commander, we have to take that beacon. The intelligence value alone would justify the entire campaign." Thake held up a primary appendage for silence. Something about this felt wrong. Humans didn't just hand over tactical advantages, especially not when facing extinction. "What's the catch, Lieutenant?" "Catch?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Who said anything about a catch? In my experience, humans don't offer free gifts to their enemies, especially not gifts of this magnitude." "You are quite perceptive, Commander. There is one small detail I should mention." Thake felt that itch between his shoulder blades intensify. "I'm listening. The beacon operates on a neural interface system. To access the tactical database, someone will need to establish a direct mental connection with the archive." "Mental connection?" Think of it as temporarily downloading human military knowledge directly into your consciousness. Perfectly safe, I assure you. Zora's voice cut through the conversation. "Sir, I'm detecting multiple energy spikes from the beacon. Whatever it's doing, it's drawing more power." "How much more power?" "Approximately 3 times its previous output, and rising." Marcus nodded approvingly. "The beacon is preparing for data transfer. Time is somewhat limited, I'm afraid. The power draw required for neural interface can only be sustained for a short period." They studied the human's face carefully. Marcus appeared calm. Almost serene. Too calm for someone whose entire species was facing extinction. "Commander," Quinn said urgently, "we need to make a decision. If that beacon contains what he claims, we could end this war today. And if it doesn't, then we have lost nothing but a few hours. Vorel was practically bouncing in his seat. Sir, the scientific value alone justifies the risk. A complete human military database would advance our understanding of their technology by decades. The SEC weighed his options. The tactical advantage would be enormous. The Dominion High Command would certainly approve of any action that could accelerate the end of this campaign. On the other hand, humans had a disturbing tendency to turn apparent defeats into Pyrrhic victories. Very well, Lieutenant. We will take your beacon aboard. Marcus smiled. And for the first time since the conversation began, Thax saw something that made his blood run cold. The human's smile didn't reach his eyes. Instead, those eyes held the cold, calculating look of a predator who had just maneuvered his prey exactly where he wanted them. Excellent choice, Commander. I think you will find the experience quite educational. The transmission cut to static. Tractor beam activated, reported Quinn. Bringing the beacon aboard now. Ak watched through the viewscreen as the cylindrical object was slowly drawn into the ship's docking bay. It looked innocuous enough, just another piece of human technology. So why did he feel like he'd just invited a venomous serpent into his net? Sir, the beacon is secured in Docking Bay 7, announced Chief Engineer Rask over the communication system. Preliminary scans show no explosive devices or obvious weapons. Obvious being the operative word, Thack muttered. 20 minutes later, Thack stood in the docking bay studying the beacon up close. It was larger than it had appeared on screen, nearly filling the entire bay. The surface was smooth and featureless except for a single panel that pulsed with soft blue light. Energy readings are stable, reported Vorel, who had insisted on accompanying the inspection team. The neural interface appears to be located here. He indicated the pulsing panel. How does it work? Based on the scans, you simply place your primary appendage against the interface. The system will establish a temporary neural link and begin data transfer. Thax stared at the innocent-looking panel. Every instinct he possessed screamed danger. But the potential intelligence value was too great to ignore. Sir, interrupted Communications Officer Polk from the ship's intercom. I'm receiving priority messages from Dominion Command. They are requesting immediate status updates on the campaign. Perfect. Thax could present High Command with the complete tactical database and earn commendations that would secure his career for the next century. Very well. Establish neural link. Thax placed his primary appendage against the pulsing panel. For a moment nothing happened. Then the universe exploded into light and sensation. Images flooded his consciousness at impossible speed. Human fleet formations, weapon specifications, colony defense grids, supply lines, command structures. Everything exactly as promised. But underneath the tactical data, something else began to emerge. Memories. Not just data, but actual human memories. He saw the Battle of Kepler Station from the human perspective. Watched their commanders making desperate decisions in the face of overwhelming odds, felt their fear, their determination, their absolute refusal to surrender even when facing certain death. And then he saw something that made his foreheart stop beating altogether. The memories weren't just from dead humans. They were from humans who were very much alive, humans who had somehow survived the destruction of their ships and were now hiding in locations throughout Dominion space. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the realization that this beacon wasn't just an archive of human tactical knowledge. It was a communication device, and every human survivor in the galaxy now knew exactly where the Dominion flagship was located. The pride to break the neural connection but found he couldn't move. The interface held him fast, continuing to download information directly into his brain. Information about human technology that was decades more advanced than anything the Dominion had encountered. Technology that made their recent victories look like child's play. Through the neural link he heard Marcus Webb's voice, calm and deadly serious. Did you really think we'd put our entire military database in a device and just leave it floating in space for you to find, Commander? How wonderfully naive. The Pryke struggled against the interface, but the connection only grew stronger. You see, we have been watching your people for quite some time, learning your tactics, studying your weaknesses, preparing for exactly this moment. The beacon isn't just downloading our tactical database to you, it's uploading your tactical database to us. A horror flooded through Thek as he realized the true scope of the trap. The humans weren't defeated. They'd sacrificed their fleets to lure the Dominion forces into a false sense of security, then used that confidence against them. Every ship position, every patrol route, every supply depot, every command center, we now have complete tactical knowledge of your entire invasion force. The neural link pulsed with data flowing in both directions. Taka could feel his ship's navigation charts, communication codes, and operational plans being stripped from his mind and transmitted across SARS to hidden human forces. But wait, Marcus continued with obvious amusement. There's more. More images flooded Thek's consciousness. Not memories this time, but real-time data streams. Hundreds of human ships not destroyed as reported, but hidden in carefully concealed locations throughout the galaxy. Ships equipped with weapons technology that made Dominion plasma cannons look like toys. Stealth technology, Commander. We have been working on it for quite some time. Amazing what you can accomplish when you know your enemy thinks you are already defeated. Through the link, Thek watched in growing horror as human stealth ships emerged from hiding and began moving toward Dominion position. Ships that registered as empty space on every sensor his people possessed. The beauty of it is in the timing, Marcus explained. We needed to ensure your entire invasion force was committed before we revealed our hand. Couldn't have you retreating back to Dominion space before we had a chance to return the favor. The neural interface finally released its grip and Thak stumbled backward, his four legs barely supporting his weight. The beacon continued to pulse, but now the light seemed malevolent rather than inviting. Vorl! Thak shouted. Emergency communication to all Dominion forces. We need to— I'm afraid that won't be possible, sir, interrupted Communications Officer Polk over the intercom. All communication arrays are experiencing systematic failures. We are completely cut off from the fleet. Thak felt the universe tilt sideways. What do you mean systematic failure? It appears the beacon uploaded some form of virus into our communication systems during the neural interface activation. We can't send or receive any transmissions. Through the docking bay's view screen, Thak watched as explosions began lighting up the darkness of space. Dominion ships, caught completely off guard by enemies they couldn't see or detect, died one by one in brilliant flashes of destructive energy. Sir, Quinn's voice crackled through the ship's communication system. Multiple ships decloaking off our starboard bow. They are broadcasting a message. Put it through. The docking bay's communication screen activated, revealing a human woman in a crisp military uniform. She appeared to be in her 30s, with steel-gray eyes and the bearing of someone accustomed to command. Greetings, Commander. I am Admiral Elena Martinez of the Human Defense Corps. I believe you have just had the pleasure of meeting Lieutenant Webb. Ilya stared at the screen in shock. The Human Defense Corps was destroyed 3 months ago. Reports of our destruction have been greatly exaggerated. Elena replied with a smile that held no warmth whatsoever. We have been waiting for this moment for quite some time. Waiting for what? For you to walk into our trap, Commander. You see, humans have one particular talent that seems to consistently surprise our enemies. And what would that be? We excel at making our opponents underestimate us. It's surprisingly effective as a military strategy. Ilya felt his world crumbling around him. Everything he thought he knew about this war had been wrong. The humans hadn't been defeated. They'd been playing a game of cosmic chess, and the Dominion had just walked into checkmate. What do you want? Want? Elena's smile widened. Oh, Commander, we don't want anything from you. We want something from your people. Complete and unconditional surrender of all Dominion forces in this sector. That's impossible. The Dominion doesn't surrender. Really? How fascinating. Because according to the tactical database we just acquired from your ship, your people are about to have a very educational experience regarding the true meaning of overwhelming force. Through the view screen, Lex could see more and more human ships decloaking around the Dominion fleet. Ships that were larger, more heavily armed and more technologically advanced than anything the humans had revealed during the previous engagements. You see, Commander, we have been fighting this war with one hand tied behind our backs, testing your capabilities, learning your tactics, allowing you to feel confident in your superiority. Why? Because we needed to know everything about you before we showed you everything about us. And now that we do— Alina's image was replaced by a tactical display showing the entire sector. Dominion ships appeared as red dots, surrounded by an ocean of blue indicators representing human forces. The scope of the deception was staggering. Every Dominion ship in this sector is now surrounded and outgunned by a ratio of approximately 10 to 1. We have complete tactical knowledge of your positions, capabilities, and command structure. Your communication networks have been compromised. Your supply lines have been severed. He slumped against the beacon, feeling the weight of absolute defeat settling on his shoulders. However, Alina continued, "We are not unreasonable. We are prepared to offer you terms." "What terms?" "Complete withdrawal from all human territories, return of all captured human personnel, and formal recognition of human territorial sovereignty." "And if we refuse?" Alina's expression turned cold as winter on a dead planet. "Then you will learn why humans have survived and thrived on a planet where literally everything is trying to kill us, Commander. We are really quite good at making things extinct when we put our minds to it." The transmission ended, leaving Fisher alone in the docking bay with the softly pulsing beacon and the growing realization that his people had just been outmaneuvered by a species they'd thought was already beat. Outside the viewscreen, human ships continued to emerge from stealth, their weapons-powered and targeting systems locked onto Dominion vessels. The trap was complete, sprung with the precision and patience that Fisher was beginning to realize characterized human military thinking. "Sir," Quinn's voice echoed through the communication system, "what are your orders?" Fisher at the beacon that had just turned his entire understanding of this war upside down. The humans had played them perfectly. Every apparent weakness had been calculated misdirection. Every victory had been allowed to make the Dominion forces more confident and less cautious. And now they were all sitting in a cosmic spider's web, with the spiders finally ready to feed. "Sir," Quinn prompted again. Dick activated his communication unit, knowing that his next words would either save his fleet or condemn them all to the same fate that had just befallen the rest of the Dominion invasion force. But before he could speak, the beacon pulsed one final time, and Lieutenant Marcus Webb's voice filled the docking bay. "Oh, and Commander? One last thing. That neural interface didn't just download our tactical database and upload your. It also installed a little present in your ship's computer systems." "What kind of present?" "Let's just say that your ship's weapons, navigation, and life support systems are now under new management. Human management. We will be taking very good care of them, I assure you." The lights in the docking bay flickered and dimmed as ship systems began transferring control to an external source. The deck plating vibrate as the ship's engines changed their operational parameters without any input from the bridge crew. "Welcome to the human way of war, Commander." "Population U, Commander." The Thek stood frozen in the docking bay as the full magnitude of his situation crystallized in his mind. His ship, his crew, his entire invasion fleet had just become prisoners in their own vessel. The humans hadn't just outmaneuvered them. They'd completely rewritten the rules of engagement. "Commander," Quinn's voice crackled through the communications system with barely controlled panic. "Our weapons systems are responding to external commands. I'm locked out of navigation." "What's happening down there?" Before the Thek could respond, the main viewscreen activated again. This time it wasn't Admiral Martinez. A different human appeared. Younger, with the kind of confident smirk that made Thek's blood boil. "Hello there, Commander. I'm Captain Jake Morrison, Chief Systems Specialist for this little operation. Hope you don't mind, but I have taken the liberty of upgrading your ship's operating systems." "Upgrading?" "Oh yes. Your old Dominion software was terribly inefficient. All those security protocols and command hierarchies. Very clunky. We have streamlined everything for you." They felt his 4 hearts hammering against his chest cavity. "What have you done to my ship?" "Improved it, obviously. Your weapons now have better targeting accuracy. Your engines run more efficiently, and your life support systems are operating at peak performance. You should be thanking us. And the cost of these improvements." Jake's smirk widened into a full grin. "Oh, just a tiny little detail. All ship functions now require human authorization codes. Think of it as a very comprehensive safety feature." The implications hit thick like a plasma blast to the chest. The humans now controlled every critical system on every Dominion ship in the fleet. They were helpless. Engineering Chief Rask's voice boomed through the communication system. "I'm reading massive power fluctuations throughout the ship. It's like something is rewriting our basic operating protocols in real time." "That would be our adaptive programming algorithms," Jake explained cheerfully. "Amazing little pieces of code. They integrate seamlessly with existing systems and then gradually assume control of all primary functions. We developed them specifically for situations like this. Situations like what? Oh, you know, hostile alien invasions, technological superiority complexes, general galactic unpleasantness. The usual. The activated his personal communication unit, hoping to reach other ships in his fleet. Static filled the channel. I'm afraid inter-ship communications are temporarily disabled. Jake continued. We can't have you coordinating any sort of response while we are conducting our educational demonstration. Educational demonstration. The view screen split into multiple windows, each showing a different Dominion ship. The Galactic watched in horror as human boarding parties materialized directly inside Dominion vessels. Not through docking tubes or transport pods. They simply appeared, as if the ship hulls provided no barrier whatsoever. Teleportation technology, Jake explained casually. Another little project we have been working on. Turns out quantum entanglement principles can be applied to macro-scale objects with the right energy matrix. Very useful for surprise visits. And on screen after screen, the Galactic watched Dominion crews surrender without a fight. The humans moved with practiced efficiency, securing each ship's bridge and engineering sections within minutes. No weapons fire, no casualties. Just smooth, professional takeovers. How many ships do you have? The Galactic, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. In this sector, about 3,000 combat vessels plus support craft. Globally, well, that would be telling, wouldn't it? 3,000. The Dominion invasion force numbered barely 400 ships. The humans had been holding back over 90% of their actual military capability. This is impossible. Our intelligence reports indicated humans possessed primitive technology at best. Your intelligence reports told you exactly what we wanted them to tell you, Jake replied. Amazing how easy it is to fool people when you give them information that confirms what they already believe. Admiral Martinez's voice cut through the communication channel. Commander, the Galactic, please report to your bridge. We have some matters to discuss. The Galactic made his way through corridors that no longer felt like they belonged to him. Crew members stood at their stations, staring helplessly at control panels that no longer responded to their commands. The ship's computer had even changed the ambient lighting to a softer, more human-friendly spectrum. On the bridge, his senior officers looked like they'd seen their own ghosts. Navigator Quinn turned toward him with eyes wide with shock. Sir, they have taken control of everything. Weapons, navigation, life support, communications. We are completely helpless. Helpless is such an ugly word, came a new voice from behind them. Galactic spun around to see a human woman materializing directly on his bridge. She wore a crisp military uniform and carried herself with the easy confidence of someone who knew she held all the cards. The teleportation process completed without so much as a ripple in the air. I prefer the term guests, she continued. I'm Commander Sarah Mitchell, and I will be your liaison during the transition period. Transition to what? Why, to the new reality, of course. The reality where humans aren't the primitive, easily conquered species you thought we were. Roberto, still vibrating with scientific excitement despite their desperate situation, couldn't contain himself. Your technology. It's decades beyond anything we believed possible. How did you advance so quickly? Sarah smiled. We didn't advance quickly. Science officer. We have had this technology for over a century. We just got very good at hiding it. But the reports, the intelligence, everything indicated exactly what we wanted it to indicate. Sarah moved to the Galactic's command chair and settled into it with casual authority. You see, humans learned a long time ago that the best way to deal with bullies is to let them think they are winning right up until the moment they discover they are not. And Tiff felt the last of his confidence crumble. The early battles, the colonies we destroyed. You let us, we sacrificed them. Yes. Terrible decision to make, but necessary. Those people knew what they were volunteering for when they agreed to serve as bait. Volunteered? You are saying your own people volunteered to die? Sarah's expression grew cold. You clearly don't understand humans very well, Commander. When our species faces extinction, individual survival becomes secondary to species survival. Those colonists died knowing their sacrifice would save billions of other human lives. The main view screen activated, showing a tactical display of the entire sector. What had been a sea of Dominion red was now an ocean of human blue, with scattered islands of disabled Dominion vessels. Every Dominion ship in this sector is now under our control, Sarah announced. Your crews are unharmed, but confined to quarters. Your weapons have been disabled. Your communication systems have been repurposed. For what purpose? To broadcast a very important message to the rest of the Dominion Empire. The screen changed to show Admiral Martinez standing in what appeared to be the command center of a massive space station. Behind her, Thek could see thousands of human vessels arranged in perfect formation. People of the Dominion, Martinez began. This is Admiral Elena Martinez of the Human Defense Corps. We are broadcasting on all frequencies to ensure this message reaches every corner of your empire. Sarah leaned forward in Thek's command chair. Pay attention, Command. This is the part where everything changes. 3 months ago, your military forces invaded human space under the assumption that we were a primitive species incapable of meaningful resistance. This assumption was incorrect. The screen filled with images of human technology, ships that dwarfed Dominion dreadnoughts, weapons that made plasma cannons look like children's toys, industrial complexes that stretched across entire star systems. The invasion force you sent to eliminate humanity has been completely neutralized. Every ship captured, every crew unharmed but detained, every piece of military intelligence now in our possession. SCI-FI watched his life's work dissolve before his eyes. The great Dominion expansion that was supposed to secure his people's place in the galaxy had become their greatest disaster. We want to make one thing absolutely clear, Martinez continued. Humanity does not seek conquest. We do not desire your territory or your resources. We simply want to be left alone to develop our civilization in peace. However, her voice hardened. We will not tolerate further aggression. Any future military action against human territory will be met with a response that makes today's demonstration look like a polite disagreement. The screen shifted to show massive human battle stations positioned throughout Dominion space, not just near the border, deep inside Dominion territory, in systems that should have been impossible for human forces to reach undetected. These installations have been in place for over 50 years, Martinez explained. Monitoring your military development, studying your technology, preparing for exactly this scenario. They are equipped with weapons capable of sterilizing entire star systems. Sarah stood up from the command chair and moved to stand beside Thek. Surprised? You shouldn't be. Humans have been exploring the galaxy for a lot longer than your intelligence services believed. But how? Our sensor networks would have detected. Your sensor networks detected exactly what we wanted them to detect: empty space. The occasional merchant vessel. Nothing threatening. Jake Morrison's voice crackled through the communication system. Commander, you might want to take a look at your long-range sensors. We have made some adjustments to their sensitivity. On the tactical display, new contacts began appearing throughout Dominion space. Hundreds of them. Thousands. All broadcasting human identification codes. We have been your neighbors for quite some time, Sarah explained. Trading with your merchants, studying your culture, learning your languages. Some of us have even lived on Dominion worlds for decades. The scope of the deception was staggering. The humans hadn't just prepared for war. They'd infiltrated Dominion society so completely that they probably knew more about Dominion capabilities than the Dominion leadership itself. Why? The Thek asked. Why go to such elaborate lengths? Why not simply reveal yourselves and establish diplomatic relations? Sarah's expression grew sad. Because we tried that approach before, Commander, with 3 other species. Each time the result was the same. They saw our technology, decided we were a threat, and attempted genocide. So you learned to hide. We learned to survive. And we learned that sometimes the only way to ensure peace is to demonstrate the cost of war so convincingly that no one wants to pay it. Admiral Martinez's voice continued from the main screen. The Dominion government now has a choice to make. You can recall your remaining military forces, establish formal diplomatic relations with humanity, and enter a new era of peaceful coexistence. The screen showed images of human technology being offered for trade. Medical advances, environmental restoration systems, interstellar transportation networks that could revolutionize galactic civilization. or you can continue your aggressive expansion policies and discover what happens when humans stop playing defense and start playing offense. The images shifted to show weapons tests. Stars being extinguished, planets being moved, space itself being folded and manipulated like origami. The choice is yours. But choose quickly. Our patience is not unlimited. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. What happens now? Quinn finally asked. Sarah activated her personal communication device. Now we wait to see how intelligent your leaders really are. In the meantime, your crews will be treated as prisoners of war under the Galactic Conventions, fed, sheltered and provided with medical care as needed. And if the Dominion refuses your terms, then you will have front-row seats to watch the most one-sided war in galactic history. Sarah moved toward the center of the bridge. But I don't think it will come to that. Your people are aggressive, but they are not stupid. That felt something he'd never experienced before. Complete, absolute defeat. Not just military defeat, but the crushing realization that everything he'd believed about his people's superiority had been an illusion. How long have you been planning this? Since the first human colony ship left Earth orbit over 400 years ago, Sarah replied. We knew we'd eventually encounter hostile species. So we prepared. 400 years of preparation. Humans think in very long terms when we have to, Commander. We are excellent at patience when survival is at stake. The communication system crackled to life again. This time it was Lieutenant Marcus Webb's voice from the beacon. Commander. The FEC. I hope you found our little demonstration educational. The beacon you so graciously brought aboard your ship has one more function to perform. What function? It's going to ensure that every Dominion ship in this sector makes it safely home to deliver Admiral Martinez's message. Can't have any unfortunate accidents during the journey, after all. On the tactical display, Thek watched as human ships began forming escort formations around the captured Dominion vessels. Not as guards, but as protectors, ensuring safe passage home for their former enemies. You are letting us go? Of course, Sarah said. Dead messengers can't deliver messages, and we very much want your government to receive our message intact. What about our weapons? Our ships will be returned to you at the edge of Dominion space, fully functional and undamaged. We are even including some minor upgrades to your life support systems. Consider it a goodwill gesture. Dex stared at the human woman who had taken control of his ship, his fleet, and his understanding of the universe with casual efficiency. What kind of species gives advanced technology to their enemies? The kind that's confident enough in their own capabilities that they don't see you as enemies anymore, Sarah replied. Just neighbors who made some unfortunate choice. Over the next several hours, Thak watched as human crews worked alongside Dominion personnel to ensure the captured ships were ready for the journey home. No hostility, no gloating, just professional competence and careful attention to safety. Commander? Jake Morrison's voice came through the communication system. We have completed the system diagnostics on your ship. Everything's running better than factory specifications. You should have no problems during the return journey. Why are you helping us? Because that's what humans do, Sarah explained. We help. Even when it's not in our immediate self-interest. Even when the people we are helping tried to exterminate us. That's illogical. No, Commander. That's human. As the massive formation of ships prepared to depart for Dominion space, Dax found himself standing beside Sarah on the bridge of his own vessel, watching human crews complete their final checks. What will happen to the colonies we destroyed, he asked. They will be rebuilt. The people who died will be mourned, and life will continue. Just like that? Just like that? Humans are very good at rebuilding, Commander. We have had a lot of practice. The main screen activated one final time, showing Admiral Martinez aboard her command ship. Commander Thick, on behalf of humanity, I want to thank you for your cooperation during this transition. Your crew has behaved with dignity and professionalism despite difficult circumstances. Dax felt something twist in his chest. Gratitude from people he'd tried to exterminate. Admiral, my people made a terrible mistake. Yes, you did. But mistakes can be corrected, Commander. The question is whether you have learned from this one. I believe we have. I hope so, because next time we won't be so generous with our demonstration. The human ships began to pull away, their sleek forms disappearing into the darkness of space as their stealth systems reactivated. Within minutes, the Dominion vessels were alone again, their systems restored to full functionality. Navigation set course for home. Dax or course laid in, sir. Estimated travel time 3 weeks. 3 weeks to contemplate the magnitude of what had just happened. 3 weeks to prepare for the conversation he'd have to have with Dominion High Command. 3 weeks to figure out how to explain that they'd just lost a war to a species they'd thought was already defeated. As his ship entered hyperspace, Dak looked back at the debris field where this had all started. The beacon was gone, removed by human salvage crews along with the wreckage of the ships they'd sacrificed as bait. "Sir," Quinn said quietly, "what do we tell Command when we get home?" Dax considered the question carefully. How do you explain to a warrior culture that they'd just encountered something beyond their understanding? How do you describe a species that could have obliterated them but chose mercy instead? We tell them the truth, Navigator, that we encountered a species that fights differently than anyone we have ever faced. A species that wins wars by making their enemies not want to fight them anymore. Will Command believe it? Dax thought about the demonstration he'd just witnessed, the casual display of technological superiority, the careful restraint that had kept a massacre from becoming a genocide. They will believe it when they see the tactical recording, and when they realize that every human installation in Dominion space is still there, still watching, still waiting. What do you think will happen? I think, Navigator, that the Dominion is about to learn some very important lessons about the universe, starting with the fact that the most dangerous species aren't always the ones that look the most threatening. Through the view screen, Dax watched the stars streak past as his ship carried its cargo of defeated ambitions and hard-earned wisdom back toward home. Behind them, hidden in the darkness, human ships continued their patient watch over a galaxy that had just learned a new definition of power. The beacon had done its job, not as a repository of intelligence, but as a teacher, and the lesson it had taught would echo through Dominion space for generations to come. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't defeating your enemy. Sometimes it's showing them that you could defeat them, but choosing not to. Humans, it turned out, were very good at that particular kind of victory. 3 weeks later, when Commander Thektig delivered his report to Dominion High Command, the first official act of the new government was to authorize immediate diplomatic contact with the Human Defense Corps. The second act was to order the complete restructuring of Dominion military doctrine around a simple principle: never again underestimate a species that offers you mercy when they could have offered you extinction. The beacon had taught them well.